Welcome back to Your Vote, where we are bringing you the findings now, the actual findings of the India Today Group CICERO post-poll results for Jharkhand. Remember, this was a 5-phase poll. So while the polling of today has continued till about 4 p.m., we will bring you the exit poll figures of that around 7 p.m. tonight. At the moment, based on 4 phases, we are in a position to give you the big picture of the state of Jharkhand. The first big results of the India Today Group CICERO poll. Just to mention, this poll was conducted across 34 assembly constituencies of the state. Remember, the state has 81 constituencies. It takes into account respondents from 170 polling stations. In total, the number of people who've been polled is about 2,868. So, fairly comprehensive, very representative. And I want to bring you straight then to the vote projections for Jharkhand. This is what we are now projecting for the state of Jharkhand for the phases 1 to 4. Others, and remember there are lots of smaller parties in Jharkhand, 28%. They were 36.7%, others and independents in 2009. So the independents and others taking a step back. The Congress is also clearly on the back foot. Vote projection now 16%. They are losing by a margin of 5.6. The JMM, take a look at the JMM. They are gaining 8.3, 20%. But remember, this time they are fighting on their own. Last time they were in alliance. But the real big gainer, the BJP, gaining by a margin of 5.9%. The BJP's vote projection, as per the India Today CICERO poll, is at 36%. 36% is the BJP's number. How is all this translating into seats? That's the difficult task that Rajiv Karandikar of the Chennai Mathematical Institute, the country's leading statistician, has done for us. Based on his projections of what has turned out in phase 1 to 4, he's projecting for the entire state. We'll have a revised figure at 7 p.m. But the early figure, 8 to 12 for others. Remember, this would include the likes of Babulal Marandi of the JVM compared to the 19 seats. So they are down. The Congress also is down to half or more, 7 to 11 seats. And this includes Congress and JDU and RJD, which are in alliance. They had won 21 seats in the last assembly poll. They are taking a hit. The Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, more or less where they were, 15 to 19 seats, but emerging as the principal opposition. They won 18 seats last time. It's the BJP, which is the big gainer as per our polls in Jharkhand. We believe they could win as much as 41 to 49 seats. They won 23 last time. So the BJP is poised to double its tally as we speak in the state of Jharkhand. That's the big first finding from our poll. The BJP poised to double its seats in the state of Jharkhand. Let me get first reactions from you, Manisha. Are you surprised at all that the BJP is doing so well that they are actually doubling their seats? Is it because the opposition is divided, or you see a positive vote for the BJP?
I think the first caveat is that this is BJP plus.
That's
the
right.
first state where the BJP did very well in the Lok Sabha elections. Nearly 56 of the seats had gone, if the Lok Sabha were to be used as a base, towards the BJP. And despite the BJP's avowed policy in Haryana and Maharashtra being that of Akla Chalo, in Jharkhand, they stitch up an alliance with a party called the AJSU,
yes,
which had, just in the recent past been an ally of the BJP there. And therefore, the numbers that we have are that of a BJP and a small ally. Not a very big surprise if the Lok Sabha is to be used as a trend, but of course, a huge surprise given what had happened to the BJP in 2009, its worst ever performance in the states. And I do have memories of Mr. Narendra Modi having been sent back from Ranchi itself. He did not cut ice then. In the same state, look at him campaigning.
2009, you're saying Narendra Modi was sent back from Jharkhand?
Sent back meaning did not receive a warm response. I remember the substance of much of the speech that he had made in Ranchi. In that same state, in the Lok Sabha elections and in the assembly elections, Mr. Modi has fought these elections as if he were fighting an election for the third tier of decentralization, local promises at many sites, places that even I may not have heard of, but he's literally made a direct communication with the electorate. So certainly a lot has changed for the BJP as a party. A very factionalized and broken party in Jharkhand has now accepted ipso facto the leadership of the Central High Command, which is the party led by Mr. Narendra Modi and Mr. Amit Shah. that leadership is accepted in Jharkhand today. A different BJP.
That's an interesting fact that you're almost seeing it as a vote for Narendra Modi and the central leadership, not so much for the state factionalized leadership. I should tell my producer, we should be flashing BJP set to win Jharkhand. That's the first big finding of our poll survey. BJP is set to win Jharkhand. The first time that Jharkhand, if our numbers are right, will actually get a majority government. And that in itself is a major finding. We are going to be getting you political reactions to that. But it's clear at the moment that the Bharatiya Janata Party is doing very, very well in the state of Jharkhand at the moment. You know, the fact is that the opposition again here was divided. We saw that in Maharashtra. We've seen that in Haryana. Here you had the JMM, which has fought on its own. You have Babulal Marandi, who's gone and fought on its own. The Congress ties up with the RJD and the JDU, but they have a limited pocket of influence, the RJD and the JDU. Is this a sign, if these numbers are true, is this another warning sign that if you today want to fight the BJP, if you are divided, you just don't have a chance? Because the BJP is retaining, if not gaining its vote, the opposition vote is getting splintered.
Well, most certainly, and the Congress shot itself in the foot by not tying up an alliance with one of the parties. I'm told that Mr. Marandi was very keen. He even met the Congress leadership, but it didn't, you know, they could never see through this alliance. They went and tied up with the JDU and RJD. Perhaps this alliance has a lot of traction in neighboring Bihar, but it doesn't translate, it doesn't carry the same amount of traction in Jharkhand. So therefore, I really don't know. For the Congress, the template is right in front of them. They are no longer the party they were. They are far from it, and therefore, the sooner they realize it, the better.
So why aren't they tying up with the likes of Marandi? Why are they reluctant? Both in Jammu and Kashmir and Jharkhand, you have alliances in government. You form a government with JMM. You form a government with NC. But the moment you come close to the polls, the Congress seems to believe they have the power. Surely they don't have the power anymore to fight an election on their own?
Yes, the sooner they realize. It's very easy to be a legend in your own mind. The Congress still believes that it's the party of the 80s. It's no longer that party. Rahul Gandhi has made no secret of the fact that he wants this Ekla Chalo Re, the Congress to stand on its own feet. But before you learn to run, you need to be able to crawl. Right now, the Congress party is in that stage. They are far from the party they were. They need to rebuild, and till you rebuild, you need to tie up. They've done that sensibly in Bihar, and perhaps Bihar is the only state where the real fight to the BJP, they'll be able to pose a real fight to the BJP. That's because the RJD, JDU and the Congress and perhaps the NCP will be together in that fight. We've seen what happened in the by-elections. These parties fought together and they won the majority of the by-election seats. But Bihar will be another story. We'll come to that when it happens. As far as Jharkhand is concerned, yes, the Congress shot itself in the foot. The onus was on the Congress and they just allowed it to fritter away.
You know, Manisha, is how much of this is opposition disunity and how much of this is a genuine belief that Narendra Modi now, as we've seen in Maharashtra, as we've seen in Haryana, is emerging, much like Indira Gandhi perhaps in the 1970s, as a leader who can rise above his own party and actually draw in votes. As you say, the BJP in Jharkhand has been a deeply factionalized party. It's not been a party as it has been, for example, for a long while in Maharashtra, as it was a party in Haryana, and yet it seems to be able to pull in the votes. Is it simply 2014 in certain states is the year of the lotus and the year of Narendra Modi?
Yeah, I mean, I think more than opposition disunity, what has happened is that the BJP, which has got a strong cadre in the state, remember when in 2000 it was formed, they had their government there. But it's been a story of factionalism because of which the party has not been performing to the standards that it should have. So therefore, far greater significance is the fact that factionalism in Jharkhand, which indeed was the bane of the party. If you see all the allegations of one of their Rajya Sabha candidates had to literally withdraw the nomination. So the leadership fight in the BJP had its roots somewhere in Jharkhand. So clearly I would say that Narendra Modi and Amit Shah more than him putting the issue of factionalism in Jharkhand behind them has been a very important message. Remember, when the alliance with the AJSU was made, none of the three important leaders of the BJP on the ground, either Mr. Arjun Munda or Mr. Raghuvar Das, they were not in favor of this alliance, but it was the central command that took the decision and carried it through. It seems today that making this small alliance has stood in favor of the BJP, a party that does not have a leadership of the Mahtos any longer within it. It brings in an ally putting away any of the other policies that it may have had for Akla Chalo. And Arjun Munda, Raghuvar Das, Ravindra Rai, all three leaders were not in favor of the alliance. In fact, there were street protests even after, in Ranchi, even after the alliance was stitched up and tickets distributed.
You know, fascinating that in a state like Maharashtra, the BJP gives up on an ally of 25 years. Is even threatening to do that possibly with the Akalis in Punjab. But as Manisha is saying, when it has come to Jharkhand, the BJP has gone with the All Jharkhand Students Union. On the other hand, the Congress, which had an opportunity to tie up with possibly Babulal Marandi, possibly with the JMM, even though the JMM on its own decided, some would say, to fight this election independently. The Congress has frittered away the opportunity. The BJP seems to have seized on it. That seems to be indeed the story of 2014. And the first findings that are coming in from Jharkhand suggest it is once again advantage to the Amit Shah, Narendra Modi combined in a state election. Let's take a break. Plenty to chew on. Many more reactions, political reactions to be got in a moment from now. The first big finding of the India Today-CICERO poll, based on 4 phases, we are saying the BJP is set to form the next government in Jharkhand. We're going to give you once again our numbers, the big first numbers of the India Today-CICERO poll that's coming out for the state of Jharkhand. Take a look at what we are projecting as per the India Today-CICERO poll for the state of Jharkhand. First, in terms of vote percentages. Take a look at the vote percentages that we are giving at the moment for Jharkhand. Others 28%, that's down 8.7, and that's mainly parties like Babulal Marandi's JVM at the moment and independents, who are quite a few number of defectors and rebels in Jharkhand. The Congress, with an alliance with RJD of Lalu and JDU of Nitish Kumar, 16%, but that again is a decline. So the Congress also is taking a hit in Jharkhand. Take a look at the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, decided to contest the elections on their own, this time under the leadership of Chief Minister Hemant Soren, the son of Shibu Soren. They are at about 20%. They're up 8.3, but remember last time they were in alliance. How is all this going to be translating? Who's the big winner? The BJP is getting 36%. That's 5.9% of a gain that the BJP is getting. Remember, the BJP did very well in the Lok Sabha elections. They seem to be sustaining that momentum in Jharkhand in the state election. How is all this translating into the projections? Rajiv Karandikar of Chennai Mathematical Institute is giving us the projections at the moment. And this is how he is projecting the election in Jharkhand at the moment. As it stands at the moment, the seat forecast, others 8 to 12. Remember, 81 member assembly, so 42 is the halfway mark. 8 to 12 for others. You've got the Congress plus the allies JDU and RJD with 7 to 11. So they're just getting about 9 seats, just not making that breakthrough at the moment in Jharkhand. The Congress on the decline across the country, it appears. The JMM 15 to 19, so midpoint is 17. The Jharkhand Mukti Morcha and the BJP, which is in alliance with the All Jharkhand Students Union, is 41 to 49. So they are halfway mark, 45. Remember, Jharkhand has never had a majority government. If I'm not mistaken, the highest were 30 seats that the BJP got in 2005. But since then, the BJP has struggled, as have every party, to get a majority in Jharkhand. This is a state where you've had a single person, an individual, Madhu Koda, who became chief minister with Congress support. How much of this vote do you think is also because of that? That the people of Jharkhand are tired of the uncertainty, instability. We've had presidents rule in recent years. We've had governments which have come and gone. We've had, as I said, the bizarre phenomenon of Madhu Koda, independent, becoming a chief minister. Is all this a reaction somewhere, you think, Manisha, to what has gone on in Jharkhand in the last 5 years, or last 10 years really?
Yeah, spot on, Rajdeep. This state has had 9 governments in the number of years that it's been there on the ground, 14 years to be precise. Now, Narendra Modi also, in the first ever rallies that he held, first round of rallies, he spoke about majority government as being a government of the people, and he said that a coalition government is run by contractors. Now, that's a message that's gone down in people, and when there were people interviewing voters today in the Santhal Pargana area, the 2 things that the voters said were high on their mind. One was Vikas, and the second was Asthir Sarkar. Asthir there means a stable government, unlike what we understand.
Achha, Asthir means okay.
Asthir Sarkar chahiye. So therefore, the idea that that's the one macro message that Mr. Modi, who has otherwise had a lot of micro messages, package for different areas, but the one political message that he seems to be driving down is that the western parts of India look far superior to the regions that I travel in the eastern parts, a comparator message of Vikas or development, and telling them that you do need a stable government. And he's also used the analogy of a young adult. He said, until the age of 14, children are very unstable. So it seems you were in that unstable phase. Between the ages of 14 and 18, children seem to get maturity. For Jharkhand, this is that age when you will move towards your own maturity as a state with its own independent identity, and you now move towards the age of 14 to 18. Much like the Rostov modernization model of stages of growth, whether it happens for Jharkhand or not, we don't know, but this is a political promise that he has had at hand.
You know, that's an interesting point that Narendra Modi is saying, that the people of Jharkhand have had 14 years where they haven't really got a government which has lasted 5 years. You've not matured, you're still in childhood. Now you're providing the first government, is how he is selling the promise of a stable government. It seems to be working. You know, let's be very clear. As I said, Narendra Modi has invested a lot of personal stake in Jharkhand. He's done it also in Jammu and Kashmir. And he and Amit Shah seem to have found some kind of formula where even the state unit's weaknesses are being overcome simply by the force of personality from the center.
Without doubt, this is Narendra Modi's year. You like him or you don't, you have to admit to the fact that this is his year. He's riding that momentum, he's maximizing it, and they're being very intelligent with the way they're stitching up local alliances. Look what they did in UP when they tied up with Apna Dal. Everybody was smirking here in Delhi and in Lucknow. And they delivered. They won 72. Similarly, this is what they've done in Jharkhand. So he's being very intelligent, and right now everything that he's trying is working. He's the man with the Midas touch for the moment.
You know, but on the other hand, look at the Congress. Look at what they've done in Jharkhand. As you know, Manisha was pointing out, you had the likes of Jairam Ramesh, who as rural development minister appeared to have invested a lot in Jharkhand in terms of time, in terms of energy, in terms of resources. But on the ground over the years, the Congress local leadership, it seems to have been either been decimated or been discredited. It's gone along with the likes of Madhu Koda to form governments. Is this another problem that the Congress faces? That for all the efforts of the central leadership, they've never really empowered and created a local leadership which can take on the likes of a Shibbu Soren, which can take on the likes even of an Arjun Munda. Where is even an Arjun Munda equivalent today in the Congress party? I mean, Subodh Khan Sai, let's be honest, is not exactly someone who's going to capture or win Jharkhand for you. Is this a problem, Javed, that the Congress has, this failure to empower any local leadership?
This has been a problem for a very long time. Look at what,
but they know it and they don't do anything about it.
Yes, and they haven't done anything about it. Every time there's a reverse, there are two reasons that are trotted out. One is the lack of an organization. Two, that we don't have second-rank leadership. But who's to blame for it? In Mrs. Indira Gandhi's time, she was that all-powerful leader. But then you look at the leaders that you had in across the country. You had Y.B. Chauhan, you had Hemvati Nandan Bhaugna, you had Kamalapati Tripathi, you had N.D. Tiwari, you had the whole lot. In Bihar, you had N.N. Mishra. In Bengal, you had people. Across the country, there were regional leaders who were pillars of strength in their own right. Right now, what you have is the leadership in the center, and there are minions in the states. Nobody's been empowered, and the second-rank leadership within the Congress party, after this reverse especially, everybody's just sitting at home. I don't see the second-rank leadership of the party. Wherever they've empowered them, they've sent a young Sachin Pilot to Rajasthan. He's making an effort. He's touring. He's hit the streets. There is some kind of impact. In Madhya Pradesh, there are 21 leaders, and they don't even have 21 seats there. So just wherever you empower people, they produce results. If you don't empower and just plan to keep running it from Delhi, well, I'm afraid this is the kind of situation you'll face.
Before we take a break, just a quick point of where this leaves the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha. If these are the results, they seem to be emerging as the major opposition party as per our exit poll findings. Shibbu Soren has perhaps sort of almost retired. Guruji has almost retired and given this election to Hemant Soren. He's been the face of the BJP campaign, of the JMM campaign. Do you believe that there's a change in guard in the JMM, and in a sense Hemant Soren will see this election as a platform now to establish himself as the primary opposition leader in Jharkhand?
Lucky man Hemant Soren. He should have ideally, under all circumstances, faced anti-incumbency.
Yes.
Because he's been the deputy chief minister, then he leads as the chief minister, doesn't really have a majority to back him up, and if he still emerges with a face of this kind, indeed he was the man that the BJP and the party under him, that the BJP thought was its principal opposition. Indeed, he seems to be retaining ground. Not only retaining ground, he's also getting all the personal attention that his father had. Remember, Shibu Soren has been a person much loved on the ground. Still, despite whatever image he may have at the center, Shibu Soren does have his generals on the ground. Most of his generals now have put their trust or reposed their faith in Hemant Soren's leadership. And as I said earlier, his sister-in-law, Sita Soren, who seems to be holding up against the family in Jama, she also somewhat, after this battle, would have to resign ipso facto to the leadership of Hemant Soren.
So there's a clear leadership transition, and there is a new dynasty which has emerged.
Absolutely. And therefore, in Narendra Modi's rallies, one heard a clear reference to the fact that Parivarvad in Jharkhand meant the Parivar of Shibu Soren. It seems, however, that the anti-Parivarvad has not cut ice if the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, as per our projections, seem to be holding what they have. In the future, it will be for them to stitch up and expand, get more than what they have. At the moment, if they are holding on, then the anti-dynasty slogan against the Sorens hasn't gone down as well.
You know, just one final point also on this Congress alliance with RJD and JDU. In the context of what is going to happen 12 months from now in Bihar, if this alliance doesn't work, and our poll doesn't seem to indicate that the alliance has worked on the ground, even though there are only limited pockets for the JDU and RJD, will it in any way prevent the Congress from going ahead with the JDU or RJD, or do they believe that as far as Bihar is concerned, it's an entirely different ballgame?
Well, as far as Bihar is concerned, it's a totally different ballgame.
Is the Congress committed to going with Lalu and Nitish in Bihar?
Look, in politics, you can never say finally. There's no finality to anything. But for now, yes, they appear to be extremely keen on Bihar, on going ahead with Lalu and Nitish, unless these two decide not to, because they've seen it. It's been tried in the by-elections, and they did rather well. So therefore, if they continue with it, there are gains to be made, and they realize that the only place where a real challenge to Mr. Modi can be mounted is Bihar.
Okay, so we'll have to wait and see what happens in Bihar. Remember, that's going to be one of the two big elections of 2015. There's Delhi at the start of the year, and there's Bihar at the end of 2015. But 2014 seems to be the year of the lotus. The big question, though, will the lotus begin to wilt the moment it crosses the Banihal Pass and enters Kashmir Valley? That's going to be a question that we will be raising in a moment from now. You're watching the results of the India Today-CICERO poll on Jharkhand. In a moment, the CSDS poll on Jammu and Kashmir. That's coming up here on Headlines Today.